Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. This time, we're taking a trip to the fascinating world of SEO in Singapore.
All right.
So imagine this. You're a business owner in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
One of the most bustling, digitally connected places on Earth.
Right.
And you want to, actually get your business found online. You know SEO is the way to do that.
Yeah.
But then you start getting quotes back, and it's like, whoa, what is going on here? $300 a month? $10,000 a month?
Yeah, there's a huge range.
There's a massive range. What is the deal? Well, today we're going to deep dive into exactly why SEO pricing in Singapore can be so all over the place. We'll break down the different tiers of service,
Okay.
figure out what those really mean, and look at the factors that really drive costs. So if you're in Singapore, we're just curious about how SEO pricing works in a really competitive market, this deep dive is for you.
It's a jungle out there.
It is a jungle out there, you're right.
Singapore is a really interesting case study because it's like a microcosm of global online business. It's incredibly competitive, tons of e-commerce, everyone's going crazy for digital marketing. So SEO is really essential. But it also means businesses really need to understand how to invest wisely, right?
Yeah.
Because you can very easily get caught up in spending way too much or maybe not enough, or you're not sure what you're getting. And I think a central question for a lot of businesses is, why are we paying what we're paying?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's something that this research is really trying to unpack. And one of the first things I noticed going through it is, whoa, such a wide price range. So let's talk about that first. Why such a huge price range for SEO services, especially in a place like Singapore?
Yeah. So the research we're looking at today shows costs can be anywhere from, you said it, 300 Singapore dollars to over 10,000 per month.
Yeah.
And I think the big takeaway here is that SEO pricing, and this is true globally, but especially in a competitive market like Singapore, SEO pricing is really tied to value. It's not just a fee, it's an investment in growth.
Right.
And I really like to use this analogy. SEO is like building a relationship. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency, and you're investing in connecting with your audience. And ultimately, you're building your business for the long haul, right? It's not a quick fix.
Right.
It's a long-term play.
Yeah. Okay. I love that analogy. But still, 300 to 10,000, that's a pretty wide spectrum.
Absolutely.
There must be some kind of logic behind it.
Yeah. And one of the key factors that sort of explains this range is the level of service that you need. And you can think of it, again, kind of like choosing a flight. So you've got economy, you've got business, you've got first class.
Yeah.
They all get you to the destination.
Right.
But the experience and the amenities are very different. So we can think about SEO in a similar way. And there are these different tiers of service.
Okay.
Each has its own price range. And that explains, at least in part, this variation that we're seeing.
Okay. All right. So walk us through these SEO tiers then.
Okay.
What is the in-flight entertainment like at each level?
I like that.
Okay.
So let's start with kind of the middle tier. We can call it mid-level SEO, which typically costs, based on the research, somewhere between 700 and 1,500 Singapore dollars per month. So this is kind of, I would say, where businesses start getting into more kind of advanced optimization strategies, especially for industries that are getting a little bit more competitive.
So this business class, we've got comfy seats, maybe some extra leg room.
I like it. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. So you're getting more personalized attention.
Okay.
And you're getting tactics that are more tailored to your specific needs. And I would say one key element that you're getting at this tier is what's called content optimization. And this is where, we're making sure your website pages are not just well-written and interesting for a human, but they're structured in a way that search engines understand. They're using the right keywords, they have the right headings. The overall flow of the page is something that both humans will like and Google will like as well.
So we're talking about okay, you wrote a blog post, now let's get that blog post actually climbing the Google ladder to page 1.
Exactly, yeah. So we're going beyond just writing. It's about, okay, how do we structure this? How do we tweak this so that Google says, hey, this is valuable, we're going to put it higher up.
Okay. So that's mid-level. What's next?
Okay, so if mid-level is business class, let's move up to first class. So this would be what I call top-level SEO. And this is where things get really, really serious. This is for businesses that are in those really competitive industries, right? We're talking finance, real estate, healthcare, and Singapore, where every inch of online real estate is just fought over. It is a battleground.
Yeah.
And so for this level of service, you're looking at, 1,500 to 3,000 Singapore dollars per month.
Okay. So lie flat seats, champagne service,
Yeah, we're getting there. So at this tier, you're getting the comprehensive package. We're talking technical fixes to your website's code, a steady stream of really high-quality content, and consistent link building. These are all essential when you're in that really crowded online space. And one key insight from the research is that if you're in one of those highly competitive fields, you really should be prepared to budget at least 1,500 Singapore dollars per month
Oh, okay.
for effective SEO. Otherwise, you're probably not going to move the needle.
Okay. Got it. So it sounds like the higher we go on these tiers, the more complex and the more specialized the strategies become.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have, beyond first class, we have the private jet level.
Yep.
And we can call this enterprise level SEO. And this is really for those large corporations that have these massive online footprints, global ambitions.
Yeah.
And this is where we're talking 3,000 Singapore dollars a month and up.
Okay. So this is like, okay, big players, you've got dedicated SEO teams, probably have dreams of global domination on their minds.
Yeah. Exactly. And so enterprise level SEO is all about really, really customized strategies, often involving regional, global campaigns. It's about dominating the search results on just a massive scale. And it requires a ton of specialized expertise, right? You need a whole team to pull this off effectively.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got our 3 tiers: mid-level, top-level, and enterprise level. But I have a feeling there's more to pricing than just like picking a tier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some key factors that are going to drive the pricing no matter which tier you're looking at. And understanding these is going to help you make more informed decisions about your investment.
Okay. All right. So let's get into those driving factors then. What is the first one that we need to be aware of?
Well, the first one, and this is a big one, is competition. So basically, the more competitive your industry is, the more effort and expertise it's going to take to stand out, which of course means higher costs.
Right. Makes sense. If everyone's going for that top spot on Google, you really got to bring your A game. And that's probably not cheap.
Exactly. So if you're, at a niche market with very little competition, you might be able to get away with a more basic SEO approach. But if you're in like finance or e-commerce here in Singapore, you're going to need something much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And therefore more expensive.
So let's say I'm a small business owner in Singapore. I'm selling, I don't know, handmade jewelry.
Okay.
My SEO needs and probably my budget are going to be way different from some massive e-commerce platform launching a new product line, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the level of competition really dictates how intense your SEO efforts need to be. So, for example, in a highly competitive industry, you might need more in-depth keyword research. You've got to find those little gems that no one else is using. You might need a more aggressive link building campaign to build authority, and you're probably going to need more frequent content updates. So you're constantly staying ahead of the curve.
Got it. Okay, so competition, check. What's the next factor that can impact SEO pricing?
So next up, we have service scope. And this is all about understanding what is included in that SEO package that you're looking at.
Right.
So remember that car analogy we talked about earlier, base model versus fully loaded?
Yeah.
So same thing applies to SEO. Some packages are very, very basic, while others are much more comprehensive.
Okay, but what does that actually look like in the world of SEO? What kind of features are we talking about here?
So a really basic SEO package, it might just focus on what's called on-page optimization. This means making sure your website is structured in a way that search engines can understand. And of course, that users love. This might include things like optimizing your page titles and meta descriptions, which are those little snippets of text that show up in search results.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure those are really enticing and encourage people to click.
Yeah, it's like writing a good ad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about that first impression in those search results.
Okay.
But beyond that, you might find some packages that also include what's called off-page optimization. And this is where we go beyond your website and focus on building your online presence and what's called your authority across the web. So this is where we get into things like content marketing, link building, social media promotion. It's a whole other level of strategy.
So it's like you're building this network of relationships for your website.
Yeah.
Right. You're not just optimizing your own little corner of the internet. You're actually reaching out, connecting, building that reputation across the entire digital landscape.
Exactly. Yeah. So a more comprehensive package might include things like regularly publishing blog posts or articles, maybe doing some guest posting on other websites to get exposure and backlinks, doing some influencer outreach, running social media campaigns,
Wow. Yeah.
even doing online reputation management.
So these comprehensive packages, naturally, they're going to come with a bigger price tag
Hmm.
because you're getting all this, like, you're getting a much wider range of services and expertise.
Exactly. So it's all about understanding, okay, what level of service do I really need? And of course, what aligns with my budget?
Okay.
And that brings us to our third factor, which is arguably the most important: experience and expertise. And, just like any profession with SEO, you tend to get what you pay for.
Right. You wouldn't want a novice surgeon operating on you.
Exactly.
So how can our listeners make sure they're getting like a seasoned SEO pro and not someone who's just learned a few buzzwords?
That's a great question. And unfortunately, the SEO industry isn't as regulated as some other industries. There are no official licenses or anything like that.
Okay, so anyone can basically claim to be an expert.
Pretty much, yeah. So the key here is to do your research and ask the right questions.
Okay, so it's really like doing your due diligence. It's like vetting any other professional that you might hire.
Exactly. So look for providers with a proven track record. Check out their website, see if they have case studies, client testimonials, independent reviews, things like that. And when you're having consultations, don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
Okay.
How long have you been in business? What is your SEO philosophy? What specific strategies will you use for my website? How do you measure success?
All great questions. Really important to be, an informed consumer here.
Yeah.
Find someone that you really trust and that you feel comfortable working with. But I'm curious, with all this talk about experience, does that mean that only big businesses can afford, like, really good SEO?
That's a good question.
What about smaller businesses with smaller budgets?
Yeah, that's a common misconception. And while more experienced SEO professionals do tend to command higher rates, there are more budget-friendly options out there. So, for example, you might consider working with a freelance SEO consultant. They often have lower overhead costs than larger agencies,
Okay.
so their rates can be more competitive.
So you might not get the fancy reports and the, big agency treatment,
Right.
but you could still get really solid guidance and strategy from someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly. And another option, especially if you're just starting out with SEO, is to consider doing some DIY SEO.
Okay.
There are tons of free resources available online. You can learn the basics, and you can start implementing some of those strategies yourself.
I love that idea of empowering especially smaller businesses
Yeah.
to take control of your own SEO.
Yeah.
But DIY, that also sounds a little bit daunting.
Yeah.
Like, can you really get good results without professional help?
It depends. It depends on your commitment to actually learning and doing it. It depends on the complexity of your website and your industry. If you have a very simple website, you're willing to put in the time, DIY can be a great starting point.
Okay.
But as your business grows and your needs become more complex, that's where professional guidance might be a worthwhile investment.
So it's all about assessing your own situation, budget, and comfort level
Yeah.
with all things SEO. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm feeling much more confident now about navigating this whole world of SEO pricing, especially in a place like Singapore.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I do want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, which is setting realistic expectations.
Yes, very important. SEO is not a quick fix. Anyone who promises you overnight results, they either don't know what they're doing or they're trying to trick you.
Okay.
It takes time to build a solid foundation, to earn those backlinks,
Okay.
to see your rankings really start climbing. So patience is key here.
So patience is a virtue when it comes to SEO.
It really is. It's a long game.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind that SEO is an ongoing process. It's not something you do once and then forget about it.
Right.
The digital landscape is constantly changing. Those search algorithms are always being updated. And so you need to be adaptable. You need to be willing to refine your strategies over time.
So it's not just like, okay, I did my SEO, now I can forget about it. You got to constantly be kind of evolving and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to find a provider, whether it's an agency or an individual, who's really committed to staying up to date on those trends and best practices.
Okay, great point. So now that we kind of talked about these big picture factors that drive SEO pricing, let's go back and actually take a closer look at those tiers of service that we talked about earlier. All right, I'm ready for another trip through those SEO tiers from economy to private jet and everything in between. Okay, so let's jump back into those SEO tiers then.
Okay.
Remember, we've got mid-level, top-level, enterprise level, each with a different level of service, different price tag.
Right. And it's good to remember that these tiers are really just a guide, not like a hard and fast rule. Every business is unique.
Of course.
And the best SEO approach is going to be tailored to, your goals, your budget.
So let's break down each one, starting with mid-level SEO, which we said is usually priced between 700 and 1,500 Singapore dollars per month. What kind of businesses is this tier best suited for?
So mid-level is kind of a sweet spot for businesses that are really serious about SEO,
Okay.
but maybe they don't have massive budgets. Maybe they're not in super, super competitive industries.
Yeah.
So I think of it as, you're laying a solid foundation for your online
Well, if
presence.
you're like a local bakery or
Yeah.
maybe like a boutique clothing store here in Singapore, this could be a good level to start with.
Exactly. Yeah, so at this tier, you're getting more personalized strategies,
Okay.
and you're focusing on both on-page and some off-page optimization. So we might be working on optimizing the content that you already have, making sure your website's technically sound, building some initial backlinks to kind of boost your authority.
Okay. So it's a good mix of making your website attractive to Google,
Yeah,
but also starting to build that reputation out there in the digital world.
exactly. Now, if we step things up a notch to top-level SEO, remember, that's 1,500 to 3,000 Singapore dollars per month. This is where we start seeing those really comprehensive strategies kicking in.
Okay, so now we're talking businesses that are ready to play in the big leagues,
Yeah,
battling it out for those top spots,
yeah.
really crowded online spaces.
Absolutely. So we're talking industries like finance, e-commerce, travel, those really competitive fields where you need, a multifaceted SEO approach.
All right, so walk us through what a top-level package might look like then. What kind of features can we expect?
So at this level, we're talking about, regular content creation. So that might include blog posts, articles, maybe even videos,
Okay.
all strategically written to attract your audience.
Yeah.
And of course, boost your rankings. We'll also be digging deeper into the technical SEO, making sure your website loads quickly, that it's mobile friendly, it's free of any errors that could be holding you back.
It sounds like a lot of behind-the-scenes work,
Yeah.
but those technical elements are super important, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, at this level, we're really ramping up the off-page efforts. So that means actively building high-quality backlinks from other reputable websites, managing your online reputation, maybe running some targeted social media campaigns
Okay.
to drive traffic, to boost engagement.
So it's like having a whole team of digital marketing experts behind the scenes,
Pretty much, yeah.
working to boost your online presence. Now, what about enterprise-level SEO, the big one? Starting at 3,000 Singapore dollars a month and going up from there. What makes this tier so unique?
So enterprise SEO is really for those massive corporations, multinational brands, the ones with those massive online footprints,
Yeah.
global ambitions, and they need a level of customization and expertise that honestly most agencies can't offer.
So this is where we see those, complex, multi-regional, global SEO campaigns.
Exactly. We're talking in-depth competitor analysis, international SEO strategies, advanced content marketing techniques, ongoing technical audits, and really sophisticated link building campaigns.
It's a huge undertaking.
Oh, absolutely. But for companies that are operating at that level, it's often essential.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, I do want to go back to something we mentioned earlier, which is the importance of setting realistic expectations.
Very important.
Because I think sometimes, people think, oh, I'm going to pay for SEO and then I'm going to be #1 on Google tomorrow.
Right.
Doesn't really work like that, right?
Definitely not. No, it takes time. It takes consistency, ongoing effort to see results.
So patience is a virtue when it comes to SEO.
It really is. And it's important to remember SEO is an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's not a one-time fix. Search engines are constantly evolving. You need to be adaptable, and you need to be willing to adjust your strategies.
So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
No.
You got to be in it for the long haul.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why it's so important to find an SEO provider, an agency, an individual that you trust, someone who's transparent, communicative, and committed to staying ahead of the curve.
Well, this has been a really insightful deep dive into the world of SEO pricing in Singapore. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the different tiers of service. We've talked about those key factors that influence pricing. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are ready to embark on their SEO journey?
Yeah, I would say start with a clear understanding of your goals.
Okay.
What are you hoping to achieve with SEO? Is it more website traffic? Is it higher rankings? Is it more leads and sales?
Right.
Once you know your destination, then you can start to map out your route and find the right guide to help you get there.
Great advice. And remember, listeners, SEO is an investment
Yeah.
in the long-term growth and success of your business. Don't be afraid to ask questions, do your research, and find an SEO provider that you really feel confident partnering with. And be patient.
Be patient. The results are worth the wait.
That's a wrap on our deep dives into SEO pricing in Singapore. We hope you enjoy the journey. We hope you feel a bit more empowered to make informed decisions about your SEO investments. Thanks for joining us.